Where are the low-value men?
The hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site. You can believe that. You can believe that. You can believe that.
Contracted COVID, but says with a mixture of medicines, including the controversial horse dewormer that has poisoned hundreds of people nationwide, he's now recovered.
He was the best guy around.
What about the people he murdered?
What murder?
From the headlines to the whisper star, low value mail, low value mail at 9 o'clock. We're truth fiction, take a walk.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon? You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
Our stories are.
Welcome back, everybody, to an all-new episode of Low Value Mail on this Monday. It's December already, December 2nd, 2024. Why am I talking like this? But it's episode number 130. Joining us today, we have, in the second hour, Aleksandar Petakov from the Small Town Monsters YouTube channel. Small Town Monsters began as an independent film series exploring lost and bizarre history around the United States, focusing on small town folklore. Their team, tells stories through the words and experiences of those who were most affected by them, residents and witnesses. We got an exciting show. I hope you guys enjoyed the new intro. I might still change it a bit. I've been literally working on this thing all day. All day. Probably too much. I probably spent too much time. I mean, I've been working on it for several weeks, on and off kind of, but I probably spent too much time on it. But anyways, if you like it, let me know. I might change it a little bit. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, where were we? We got off a great show for you this evening. Before I get started, just do me one quick little solid. If you happen to be watching right now over on my comedy page, my comedy YouTube channel, Danny P Comedy, you'll see that the chat is disabled. You cannot chat, but you can come over to the Low Value Mail channel and chat. Last week I was like, you know what? I'm going to also stream on that channel, and it literally doubled the views of the show. So I'm like, okay, well, I guess I have to do that, but I would prefer you all just come over to the Low Value Mail channel, subscribe to the channel. Because for one, it's monetized. My other channel is completely demonetized. But if you want to stay over there, not chat with anybody, just be a fucking weirdo, do it. Stay over there. But if you want to join in the chat with everybody, talk to all the, people over here, then please come by. All right. Let's get to it. Hunter Biden. Oh, baby. Hunter Biden gets the pardon. How good is that, huh? How good is it? How good must it feel if you're Hunter Biden right now? And here's the thing, right? They said it couldn't be done. Sorry. They said they wouldn't do it. My mistake. I misspoke. They said they weren't going to do it. And by they, Joe Biden, every mainstream media, left-wing mainstream media, everybody who works at the White House, the guy who I buy bagels from, everybody said it would not be done because they're better than that. Joe Biden, Crazy Joe Biden. I was trying to think, what's his nickname, Joe Biden? Crazy Joe? Sleepy Joe Biden. Sounds like I'm Sleepy Danny Polishchuk right here because I couldn't remember it there for a second. They said it wouldn't be done. It's been done. I don't blame Joe Biden for doing it. I don't have any children. I see a lot of people with children. They go, if this was my son, I would absolutely pardon him. And yeah, that's fair. That's fair enough. You know, Joe Biden's claiming a bit of lawfare right now, I suppose. That's what he's doing. He actually, he put out a little press release yesterday. By the way, if you bet on Polymarket for Joe Biden to pardon his son, you just cashed out big time, because I think it was only like a 20% chance or something. So, cha-ching, some guy apparently bet 88 grand. Turn that into cool 350K. Because he was the only one who had the fucking stones, or he had insider information, at which point, let's hope he gets prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But Joe Biden put out this thing. He says, no reasonable person who looks at the facts of Hunter's cases can reach any other conclusion than Hunter was singled out only because he is my son. And that is wrong. Mr. Biden sent in a statement announcing the pardon. Here's the truth. I believe in the justice system, but as I have wrestled with this, I also believe raw politics has infected this process, and it led to a miscarriage of justice. First off, last I checked, the head of the Department of Justice is Merrick Garland, who he put in. It's his Justice Department, right? So, those are your guys. You're saying they gave you the raw deal? Are they the ones who kind of dicked you over? Because if that's the case, I suppose it's possible. And now, being, I guess, the most generous I could be here, it was I don't want to say it was a flimsy case. He obviously committed crimes. Would he have been prosecuted if he wasn't Joe Biden's son? Probably not. All he did was fill out a form wrong. And now I know this country loves to put you in jail for filling out forms wrong. Guys, I'm having some problems speaking, but we'll get there. But this country, they love just like locking you in a cage because you checked no accidentally on a box. But apparently you can't get a gun if you use drugs. Reasonable. Some of you are probably saying right now, that is not reasonable. Give me my guns. Give me my drugs. But, some places in America, I don't know if that's everywhere in America. That might be state by state. There might be some states who are like, we're the super chill state. Like Vermont. They go, drugs, guns, super chill. We're the chillest state that exists. Right? But, there's a case to be made that maybe they only went after Hunter Biden. Maybe the whole plan all along, now that I'm thinking about it, was they wanted to get Trump. So they go, do all the crazy stuff. Throw everything you got at Trump. Let's just gin up all these charges, all this stuff. And then to make it not look so bad, we're going to go after Hunter Biden. Knowing full well that he goes, it's all good, right? Because we go after Trump. Maybe Trump loses the election. Maybe Trump loses the election, gets convicted, loses the election. That's taken care of. And then you have this Hunter Biden conviction, which you go, just pardon him for that. Just give him a little pardon. And then they win, right? And then if he's wrong and he goes, hey, if Trump wins and we lose, then I pardon him anyways. So it seemed like strategically not the worst thing to do. Some people right now, which is personally disgusting to me as a male feminist, they're blaming Jill Biden. There's all these reports saying that they're like, yeah, it wasn't even his idea. Jill Biden put him up to it. Dr. Jill. Really? A strong, independent man like Joe Biden can't just make his own decisions on who he would like to pardon or commute? It's not up to him. He's not, a woman has to put him up to such nefarious activities? My word. It's disgusting that in the year 2024, soon to be 2025, people still hold beliefs like this, where they want to blame it on a woman. It's the original sin right here. This is Adam and Eve again with this, where they go, hey, I didn't eat the apple. That bitch ate the apple. I guess you can't call her a bitch, but you know what I mean. They made her eat the apple. Joe Biden, right? And there are some odd things with his pardon. And again, presidential pardons, not the most uncommon thing. They happen all the time. I was kind of going back to see presidents who they pardoned. George W. actually didn't have any really crazy pardons. His were kind of all normal, to be honest. Obviously, Trump last time around pardoned all the people who were convicted of just knowing him and associating with him. I didn't look too much in the Obama ones. Old Willie Bill Clinton, though, pardoned his goddamn brother for drug charges. His brother had drug charges, and then his brother got arrested a year later for a DUI. Sometimes you can't help people. Sometimes people just need to help themselves, Sometimes as much as you want to help someone, they just can't help themselves, right? But so the pardon that they gave Hunter Biden goes back to 2014. He got an 11-year, almost full 11-year pardon against any crimes that he has committed or may have committed, which is pretty sick if you think about it, that because he was convicted of some crimes. We saw his laptop, which had many more crimes on them. Think about all the crimes he committed that we don't know about. So many. This is a jackpot for him. He probably is like, holy shit. Like, does that apply to murders? I don't know. Actually, I think things that don't have a statute of limitations actually do not apply to this. I could be wrong. Maybe if the statute of limitations, maybe if they occurred during that period. Because come on, you're trying to tell me it's the craziest thing in the world that Hunter was partying with a couple escorts. One of them accidentally died. Is that the craziest thing you've ever heard of in your life? And then he gets some of his, big time buddies up in Washington to help him bury the body. It's not the craziest thing, right? But so it goes all the way back to 2014, which coincidentally, I believe it was January. I don't know if it's January 1st, sometime in January 2014 is when the pardon goes back to, which is when he happened to start working for that Ukrainian gas firm, Burisma. Plus, excuse me, his involvement in China. I saw a tweet, I believe from Mike Cernovich, who I don't want to steal his stuff here, but he made a good point that he technically should have commuted his sentence. That would have been probably, if you weren't worried about all these other crimes, you can just, because that's the thing is presidents, they pardon and they commute. You basically say, hey, you don't got to do any time here. Mark in the chat says Obama pardoned a murderer. So there you go. I think a lot of murderers get pardoned. I think a lot of times a bunch of the Weather Underground people got pardoned, I believe, by Bill Clinton. People who for sure commit murders get pardoned. They go, yeah, you've been in jail for 40 years. Plus, your brother is a heavy contributor to the DNC. At the end of the day, you look into a lot of this stuff. When they say it's not who it is who you know. It's also who you blow if you are hanging out with Hunter Biden. But it's really who you know and how much money you give to certain people. Because people they just hand, it's not some fucking schlub with no connections getting pardons. Maybe sometimes, but you still need Kim Kardashian to raise your case or whatever the hell. Bring it up and somehow get it, to the president. But anyways, he probably should have commuted it. That would have been the politically fair thing to do. You go, hey, this is kind of an unfair thing, but we're not just pardoning him. But no, they pardoned him for any crimes committed 2014 and forward. He had tax fraud, money laundering, I believe, gun charges. The statute of limitations on these things is 6 and 5 years. So you didn't need the 11 years. The 11 years is a weird one, unless, of course, you did some bad things, Hunter and Joe. This has been brought up as well, which is that should Hunter Biden now be subpoenaed and formally deposed on any of the things, he can't lie about any of this stuff. It's like that last episode of The Shield. You ever see The Shield, the last episode? Oh man, I don't want to ruin it for you, but they basically are like, anything you admit to, you'll be absolved of. But if you don't admit to stuff and we catch you, you're liable for it. And he just admits to fucking everything he's ever done as a dirty drug squad cop, right? But so anyways, if Hunter Biden, he now has to tell the truth about everything, which could, I guess, implicate Joe Biden, which means, and I actually looked to bet on this on Polymarket today, you can't, but he's going to pardon himself, right? And he's like so cooked, and we all know he's so cooked. Like, is he even really the president right now? He's going to go pardon himself. And then he's going to have to. He's going to pardon himself. Just going to be like, I don't know what's going on. Can you do that? Can you pardon yourself? Of course you can. They were saying Trump was going to pardon himself. That would be so funny. They were saying it forever. They're like, Trump's going to pardon himself. Trump didn't pardon himself. And now I bet you Joe Biden's going to pardon himself because you now have these 5 years of what I can only describe as malarkey happening. I'm sure that's how Joe Biden would describe it. That was 5 years of just unbridled, unmitigated malarkey. So he's going to pardon himself. Maybe Fauci. Maybe the move is he does this is the 4D chess move, is he pardons himself and Trump. He goes, look, let's just bygones be bygones. I don't want no smoke, even though Trump's the president, so he can't really get in trouble for now. But maybe he gives him one of those. He goes, we're going to pardon me. I'm going to pardon Fauci because I know you got a fucking raging hard on for that guy. And pardon Trump, right? And that's the way you do it. By the way, I looked to see if Canada does pardons. They don't. I don't know if anywhere, any real, democracy. I know this is people get mad when I call America democracy. It's a constitutional republic, right? But it is a weird quirk of this constitutional republic where the president just on his way out. I mean, I know they could do it throughout the term, but on the way out, it just goes, who everybody was good to me, really greased me up, has a boat waiting for me. Let's just pardon them all, right? And isn't the point of a constitutional republic that the president doesn't have this unchecked power? I thought that was the point. Is that so the president cannot behave like a king, right? And then on the last day, they go, hey, last day, though, you can kind of not even last day. We're a month and almost 2 months out. Last 2 months, you go, hey, man, king shit right now. Start pardoning people. Just have fun, man. Have fun with it. You can pardon. It starts with the turkey. That's probably how it started. That's probably not how it started, but probably goes, yeah, we'll pardon this turkey. And they go, who else can we pardon? What about my buddy who got popped for insider trading? Can I get him? They go, I don't see why not. I mean, who's going to stop you? Who is going to stop you? Right? And I will say as well, there's some people who are mad about this, which is maybe the most delusional take in the world. Like the people who are like, a politician lie. Like, come on. We know that they all do. Now, I understand that it's mostly people on the left who are mad because they think they're, for the most part, better than everybody. They think they are the moral people. I was going to say the Keith Olbermanns of the world, but he's actually pretty pumped about this. He was like, let's pardon Hunter Biden and then go pardon another 10 million people. Just really set the tone here of what it's going to be like. But, people on the left are mad, and fairly so, because for the last year, Joe Biden said that he wasn't going to pardon Hunter Biden. He's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to respect the courts. No, he got a community note on a tweet of his from 6 months ago that says, no one is above the law. And then there's a community note that says some people are, in fact, above the law. And, he obviously said that he wouldn't pardon him because he wanted to win an election, because that's just politics, is you say things you don't mean, you lie. Fair enough. I don't really hold it against him. It sounds like he just knew he was going to do it, or at least was leaning towards it. And then that snake and Eve made him do it. He didn't want to do it. But again, he just, you say shit. You're a politician. The people who are like, oh my God, I can't believe. I actually walked by someone's house the other day near my house, and they still in their window had a Biden Harris poster. Not ironically, I can assure you it was not ironically. It's like they chose to live in some sort of alternate, like they just were like, you know what, it's summer all the time. It's still early June when it was still Biden Harris, you know, and they're just in their mind, they go, just we're running it back. Biden Harris, baby. Some people are worried that his reputation will be tarnished. God forbid Joe Biden tarnishes his reputation. I think his reputation is fairly tarnished at this point, you know. You know, he's got the whole Ukraine starting, you know, kind of firing off World War III for no really great reason, giving them endless sums of money, which, I mean, I guess some people are in favor of that. He could have gone out, you know, if he just wanted to be that two-time VP. Remember he got the medal where Obama pinned him with the medal, and like it was like a surprise though when he was like crying. Man, if you went out on that, legend. You still get to keep all your money, still get to run your old Biden crime syndicate, all that stuff. You know, maybe you don't have the influence to sell anymore that you would as president. And I can't judge. Obviously, the intoxicating power that is the president, it's hard to refuse. But he could have really gone out on top. And here's a funny thing. I was kind of, you know, doing some research for this show. Can you believe I do research for this show? I do. And I was searching some Hunter Biden stuff, and I came across Hunter Biden on the Jimmy Kimmel show 2 years ago. Hunter Biden had a book. I didn't know this. Hunter Biden had a book. It's all about how he's a wacky drug addict who loves whores. Just loves them. And he's doing a little press tour. And he went on Jimmy Kimmel. And it is honestly pathetic to watch the way Jimmy Kimmel behaves. Jimmy Kimmel was like a girl in the 60s meeting fucking John Lennon or some shit, or Paul McCartney. Like he's glowing. He's absolutely glowing. Literally not one challenging question. It's just one softball after another. And to this day, and I didn't know this, but to this day, Hunter Biden still claims that he doesn't know if the laptop was his. He literally, that's still his story. He goes, that laptop, I don't know if that was mine. And Jimmy Kimmel just kind of laughs it off, being like, yeah, you were really fucked up on crack. I mean, you know, I've never done crack. I've never done that much. I've never done any crack at all. I've done zero crack. I'm sure some people who are watching this have done a bunch of crack. I'm certain of that. But this whole thing where he's this hopeless, this is a 50-year-old man. And they're like, he's just like this hopeless drug addict. There's nothing he can do. There's nothing he can do. He was just on such a bender that he doesn't know if he owned that laptop. And you go, well, how did all that stuff get on there? He goes, beats me. Your guess is as good as mine. And Jimmy Kimmel's like, wow, you know, I thought that was crazy. And then I read your book and I'm just surprised you're alive. I believe that you don't know that was your laptop, because man, those stories you tell. It was honestly not like Jimmy Kimmel is someone to look up to where you go, man, Jimmy Kimmel's really slipping, because obviously he's been slipping for some time, but goddamn, that was hard to watch. If you want to watch it, it's on YouTube. Jimmy Kimmel interviews Hunter Biden, but he went on this whole book tour, probably just to launder money. That's what Martin Shkreli told me. That's the big secret with books. These politicians do is they're all just money laundering operations. I didn't know that, but basically you just print a bunch of books and then sell them, and they just sell them for donations or whatever. You know, it's a way to funnel donations. You just go, hey, I sold 500,000 books. What kind of idiot is truly just reading Hunter Biden's book? I guess if you have like a substance abuse issue, maybe if you're like, but is he the guy you want to look up to? He has literally endless resources. He can go to every outpatient facility indefinitely whenever he wants, and he can fuck up and just go back. It's not relatable. Also, they keep referring to him They keep saying Hunter Biden because he's like, my son, he's been sober for 5.5 years. Says who? He's not getting drug tested, is he? Like, he hasn't been sober for 5.5 years. I saw a video of him at the White House in the last few years. His jaw was going insane. Absolutely. Like, he was just like one of these things. That is not a sober man. And they just go, yeah, he's been sober for 5.5 years. And you go, okay, well, good for him. I mean, good for him if that's true. I don't believe him. I don't believe him. There's over 100 of you watching on the Danny P Comedy channel. Come on over to the Low Value Mail channel. It's warm in here. I'm going to open up the phone line soon. Very shortly. Just quickly, I want to get to this one story because it is fucking nuts. Okay. Women are sterilizing themselves because of Trump. Yes, you heard that correct. Women are purposely sterilizing themselves because of Trump. This is from Newsweek from a few days ago. Newsweek spoke to 5 women who have either undergone sterilization procedures or plan to in the wake of President-elect Donald Trump's victory on November 5th. They all expressed fear their reproductive choices will be taken from them under Trump's administration. Now, if Newsweek spoke with 5 women that they got for their piece, you know that there's way more than that who are actually doing this, which is maybe the most shocking part. But it is truly, when they say Trump derangement syndrome, this is actually deranged, right? Like you're sterilizing yourself. This isn't like 4B. They go, we're going on a sex strike. You go, sure, you're gross anyways. Who cares? You will not be missed. This is having serious surgical procedures, removing the fallopian tubes, destroying the uterus. Here's one. Last week, a 39-year-old from Washington State who did not want to be named underwent a bilateral salpingectomy in which her fallopian tubes were removed. She says, I'm not happy that I felt forced into a surgery. I did not want to alter my body. I feel like the election tied my hands and forced me to be sterilized. That is horrible, she told Newsweek. She and her husband, get this, who had a vasectomy in 2021, both felt that they'd experienced too much trauma as children themselves to be the parents they wanted to be. She has also struggled with multiple health issues, including polycystic ovary syndrome, which made pregnancy risky for her. This chick is 39 years old. Her husband has a vasectomy. I think you're good. Do you know how hard it is to get pregnant? Can we end this myth? I don't know. I guess this myth comes from because teenagers just get knocked up. You go, man, it must be so easy to get pregnant. It is not easy to get pregnant. You have a fucking 5-day, 3-day window or something where you can get pregnant. That's it. Guys, we've been getting lied to our whole lives. They've been telling us, oh man, blow a load in some fucking random chick, you can knock her up. Yeah, if it's in this 3 to 5 day window. Otherwise, no. It is so hard. This chick's 39. She's on her way out. She has 3% of all the eggs she'll ever have in her life left. And he has a vasectomy and she's getting her fallopian tubes removed. Says this woman scheduled a sterilization appointment in October, fully planning to cancel the surgery the day after the election, assuming Kamala won. Ooh, that must have been a tough watch party, huh? Just sitting around watching the results come in. Oof, man, just watching, being like, huh, still looks like she could win it. Still looking good. Then she gets the shot at Howard University and goes, oh, they're packing up, huh? Well, I guess I'll be packing up my insides because God damn it. She says, with Trump's victory, we quickly learned that my choice to cancel the surgery had been taken from me. We both believed that I had no choice but to proceed to ensure that I can protect my health. Should I be assaulted during a Trump presidency? Should my husband's vasectomy fail? And or should my hormonal birth control become inaccessible? Oh, so she's also on birth control. Didn't even mention that. So she's on birth control, 39. Her husband had a vasectomy, and she thinks you're like, yeah. I'm like, get knocked up any moment here. Can't have that happening. God forbid that could happen. Another woman, Ashley Hedden, 36, who is asexual, which means she does not experience sexual attraction, is worried about sexual assault and medical care for pregnant women. She says, the only way I would get pregnant is if I were raped, and I refuse to be forced to carry the results of a man's violence against my will, she said. Hedden, who lived in Kentucky, went on, I have seen that this country will not protect people that can get pregnant and have seen the reports of the deaths of pregnant women that were refused medical care. I refuse to be a person that ends up not being able to get medical care just because I own a uterus with some cells growing in it. Okay. Obviously, some women do get raped. This is a fact. It's unfortunate. It does happen. Okay. And some of those women do get pregnant. But if you're her and you're like, I'm worried about having to take this baby to term, why don't you take Plan B? I understand it's a very traumatic thing. The whole thing is traumatic. I'm not trying to downplay the trauma here of an asexual person getting SA'd. That's for you, YouTube. Right? But why don't you maybe take 2 Plan Bs? You can still buy those. You can buy them on Amazon and you can put them in your freezer. They'll probably last the 4 years you need. I don't know. I think that it's kind of a little illogical, maybe a little over the top, if you will, to say, hey, if I get raped and I'm impregnated, the only option I have is to carry this clump of cells to full term, which is all you see it as. I don't know, hop on a bus if you can't bear to take Plan B in the first 6 weeks, or maybe it doesn't take. Maybe hop on a bus to a neighboring state. Get your abortion. This just seems so unlikely and just such an insane overreaction. Here's another one. Eden Exora, 25, who lives in Florida, is also worried about sexual assault. She made a firm decision last month that she will get a bilateral salpingectomy. She's 25. I think that's having the whole fucking uterus just pulled out of you. Like, you ever make ribs? You ever make ribs and you gotta take the membrane off the back? She's like having that done to her inside just because Trump won. She's like, she says, all the political noise is what really finalized my decision for me, she said. It wasn't just Trump winning, but rather all the online rhetoric that followed. She cited nationalist, I think that's supposed to be white nationalist, podcaster Nick Fuentes' viral clip telling women, your body, my choice, and the jokes about it as an example of this. For me, it was a call to action, Exora said. I need to get this locked in so I don't have to live in fear that at any moment some random guy can completely destroy my life. For me, the idea of getting pregnant is worse than death. I'm doing what I can to protect my right to choose. I am choosing me. We need to bring back lobotomies, okay? This is maybe my most controversial stance that I truly, truly believe in. And it's not just for women. I don't think we need to bring back lobotomies for women. Men need lobotomies too, but we need to bring them back, okay? Because this is crazy. By the way, Nick Fuentes, who didn't vote for Trump, was anti-Trump. And then when Trump won, was like, I'm going to be a troll about it. Guess what? You think he's upset reading this, that you're getting your fucking uterus removed because of his tweet? Or is he like, ha, 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 that's hilarious. Not only did so many people see my tweet, people are no, you can't get your uterus removed. We need to lobotomize these women. Go look at the before and after photos of women getting lobotomies, okay? They look so much happier. Yes, they're a little drooly. They're a little slow, but they look so much happier. The men too. They had all these like bags under their eyes. They get the lobotomy, fixes it. You sleep better. You're not doing crazy shit like getting your uterus removed just because you spend too much time on the fucking internet. All right. Phone lines are open, everybody. 1-888-949-2969. We're going to take some calls before we bring on our guest at the top of the hour. Call in. I'll get to as many of you as I can. Before we take any calls, please like and subscribe to this channel. If you're an audio listener, make sure to follow the podcast. Leave a review. If you're watching on my main comedy channel, Danny P. Comedy, where all the AI videos, all that stuff. There's 93 of you watching right now. Head on over to Low Value Mail. There's a chat. You can just click on it right there. Subscribe to that channel. Join the chat. It's a fun time. We have fun, and it's a good time. Okay? Also, if you would like to support the show, you can get access to the after show, Low Value Mail Overtime, which we'll be doing tonight at 11:30 p.m. following this show. You can also, you don't have to join it live. You can watch it after the fact. You can listen to it. I'm going to be covering some other articles. Some things I'm going to be covering tonight. Kash Patel, maybe the new head of the FBI, which I am so pumped about. The New York Times says that women doing well caused Trump to win. In an Ontario town, that's Canada, sorry, Ontario town fined for not celebrating Pride. Can you believe it? Can you friggin' believe it, huh? That an Ontario town would go as far as to not celebrate Pride. And again, you can get access to the after show. Just go to patreon.com/lowvaluemail, MAIL. Sign up, support the show, or you can join the channel here over on Low Value Mail, the YouTube channel. Support the show. It means a lot. You can support just if you can support the show in any way. If you want to tell a friend, tweet about it. I don't care. Just whatever you can do, support the show. It would help me out. It's like a vote. It's, they say voting counts. In this case, it really does. Voting really does count. So consider doing that. Patreon.com/lowvaluemail. That's the ideal method, because YouTube will eventually take this all the way from me. New episode of The Bathhouse tomorrow night, 9 p.m. We're back. We are back. And once the guest comes on, I forgot to mention last week, but once the guests come on, if you want to drop any super chat questions, real questions, I will ask the guest. And again, your support is appreciated. I have this insanely expensive phone bill because for some reason I decided it was necessary to get an 800 number. Why? I don't know. But it's minimum $200 a month for this stupid phone bill. Anyways, let's take some calls. One moment, please. Hello. You're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
It's Jared, Danny. How you doing, buddy?
Jared, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to follow up and see if you, by chance, were in the know of anything that's transpired since the Jew tunnels were discovered in the Brooklyn area. And you kind of have your ear to the ground. And that.
I have my ear to the tunnels, if you will. No, nothing. I am curious. Joe, the lawyer, who is our resident Judaism expert, kind of gave a fairly reasonable breakdown about it maybe 6 months ago or something. I'm wondering if they deported some of those people, because it sounds like a lot of those people were here illegally.
Well, they tried to say that there was a migrant thing, and that some of the people were illegals, and that they were just looking for extra square footage.
Yeah, well, Joe kind of gave the explanation, and he's pretty tapped into this community. Essentially, all the younger people at this synagogue, there was like the head rabbi who had died like a long time ago, basically said that he's like, we're going to expand this synagogue to make it like massive, as big as possible. The older ones didn't want to do it. And the young kind of like, whippersnappers, if you will, were like, well, fuck you, old people. This is what he said. And so then they just started digging, but they were actually like damaging the foundation of the building and making it dangerous, which is why they called the police on them. Because it wasn't the police like randomly called. It was the rabbis called the police on these kids.
That may be the case. From what I understand, according to some sources, there may have been a connection from the Shabbat Lubavitch Center to a local women's center. And there were, from what we understand, soiled mattresses.
Yeah, I saw the soiled.
and-
I saw the soiled mattresses or the soiled mattress. Again, I don't know. Like, if people think that these Jews are like somehow protected if they were doing some crazy shit and they were just gonna like not get in trouble, I don't.
Well, you are familiar with the idea that Jews kidnap children, rape them, and engage in bloodletting. So this tunnel connected to a.
I mean, I've heard
women's
that.
center.
Yes, I don't think that they actually do that, but yes, I have heard that.
Well, over the course of history, there have been a few cases where this thing has been discussed and people have been put on trial, and there's been a little bit of hubbub.
Yeah, they also put witches on.
Well,
they also put women on trial for being witches.
maybe those chicks were doing some witch shit.
I mean, I'll tell you, they weren't good at floating.
I mean, floating, maybe, but were they engaging in witchcraft? Maybe, maybe not. But long story short, what I wanted to transition that into was the rabbi that was murdered in the UAE was a member of the Shabbat Lubavitch group.
Yeah, that's a huge group.
And
Though. They have that's like they have. I can't remember where I went. Like they have offices
It's
or
global.
whatever, like
Yeah, no,
synagogues,
it's the largest-
everywhere in the world.
Everywhere in the world. It's one of the largest Jewish organizations in the globe. Yes.
Yeah, they're big time.
So, don't you think that maybe that was a little bit of like, we got one of you guys.
for
we caught
the
him.
tunnels. You think that was?
I mean,
tunnel and
I
pay.
don't
But you
know.
think it was? You think that guy getting murdered
They
was
they
specifically
caught
linked to the
They caught a
tunnels?
dude. I'm just saying, they caught a dude slipping. They got a chance to pick one off, and they got your boy.
I mean,
maybe
he's
I'm
not my
wrong.
boy. I don't even know. I mean, I briefly saw something about this. I don't know. I actually saw Jared Kushner post about it on, I think, Instagram or
it
something.
was funny.
Yeah, I don't know if those are, that might be a stretch to say the tunnels and that guy are related, but I don't know. Maybe.
I just thought maybe, there could be a.
I mean, hey man, I like a conspiracy. I like a yarn as much as anybody. So if you got something, some sort of evidence pointing towards it,
and if you
I'm
haven't-
down to hear it.
And I thought, Bean, you keep your ear to the ground. Maybe you heard something, but Bean, that's not the case. I just thought I'd bring it up and let the.
I mean, I kind of
the,
do.
uh,
I kind of, I'm fairly terminally online. I feel like if there was anything to that, I would have been tagged in it a million times.
Okay.
Yeah. But if
What
you have
about any
anything,
other
send.
tunnels in New York City?
If you have anything, my DMs are open on Twitter. Excuse me, send it my way.
All right, I'll reach out again some other time if I get any more information, Danny. Always a pleasure, sir.
Later, man. All right. The Jewish tunnels, man, that was such a gift. That was just a gift. It was literally, we were given just such a beautiful gift. All right, let's take another call. Phone lines are open, 1-888-949-2969. Shout out to 300-1416 for joining the channel. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
Can you hear me?
I can.
What's up, Danny?
How's it going? Who am I speaking with?
This is Bryce. I called
Bryce?
last week
Yep.
when you had Rudyard on. I wanted to talk about the chicks losing their mind over abortion.
Yeah.
So
Over Trump. It seems like over Trump
I
in
wanna hear-
general, but yeah, I guess it's abortion is what it boils down to.
Well, I want to hear people start talking about who needs to be held responsible for all these women, like, thinking that Trump being elected is, like, going to be the start of the Handmaid's Tale. I mean, this whole situation very clearly highlights that I think women are more subject to social control.
Yeah.
It's like as a man, if someone who I didn't want to be elected got elected, I wouldn't immediately go and schedule get my nuts chopped off.
Hell no.
So-
They're like, again, and like women would say, well, lucky for you because they're not like they're not litigating your bodies or whatever. But again, what they're doing is such an insane overreaction. Like they're not even related, the two things. They're literally.
The guy's not even president right now.
He's not. Oh, well, he kind of is though. Oh, he kind of is.
Yeah, but I mean.
I mean that I'll disagree with
like
you on.
20th.
Yeah, I know he's not technically the president until the 20th, but he's literally fucking got Justin Trudeau to hop on a flight down to Mar-a-Lago because he's like, we're going to slap some. Like, he's negotiating like he's the president right now.
Yeah, but he's right. But if you thought that Hitler just got elected, I feel like you got time to like flee the country if you think it's going to be like, that bad. But,
I mean, like for anybody who lives near the southern border,
they are getting hysterectomies.
Yeah, I know. It's literally they're hysterical. They're getting hysterectomies. Literally, the etymology of hysterectomies is like hysteria or whatever. And the southern border, last I checked, going into Mexico, pretty porous. Like you can just go to Mexico. Mexico is not that bad. Like I've been to Mexico City. I could live there. It's a pretty nice city. Your money goes way further.
Yeah.
I'm sure not a lot of these chicks are fucking working in an office. They probably work remote anyway. So just go to Mexico City. They have like a leftist fucking prime minister now, president, chick. It's a chick.
If you, yeah, exactly.
Just go to Mexico.
If you thought that Hitler was elected and you're not fleeing the country, if for the past year or two you were talking about Trump as Hitler, and currently right now you're not doing everything in your power to get out of the country, then that tells me you never actually believed any of that, and you're just parroting talking points you heard. But
well, I mean, I'll give them this: if you're having your uterus removed, like as far as I understand,
it is a commitment.
A vasectomy is reversible. You can change your mind on a vasectomy. Yeah. I think in many cases, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm pretty sure a vasectomy is reversible. You can't have your uterus put back in, okay? And maybe I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure once they take the uterus out, there's no putting that bad boy back in. So they're really like, this is commitment to the bit here. But like a 39-year-old saying I'm removing my uterus, you go, yeah, whatever. You weren't using that thing anyways. But a 25-year-old, like, you're like, Jesus Christ, you're going to fucking 4 years from now when there's a new president, you're going to be like, that was stupid.
Well, it just goes to show the lengths that some women will go to just spite random men on the internet. Like you were talking about Nick Fuentes and his, your body, my choice. It's like there are chicks getting hysterectomies because edgy 12-year-olds are quoting Nick Fuentes at them on the internet. Like because
of a tweet you saw.
Need to get offline.
You're like, if you just were outside. Like there's no Amish people who are getting their uteruses removed because they didn't see any tweets. They're just like, I never saw the tweet, so I guess I'm not getting my uterus removed.
Yeah.
It's
like if you are if you're
ahead.
So mentally unstable that a tweet would lead you to do that, maybe you are not capable of self-government in the first place, and we need to, like you were saying about lobotomies earlier, maybe we need to discuss an alternative route for you because in your current state, you are not functioning.
And probably these women would have not made the best mothers, realistically. Again, this might just be natural selection in action here, but when you see it, you're just like, God damn, that's so over the top. Like they literally, probably all these women have watched The Handmaid's Tale or read the book, and they think that they're living in it, and they go, that's like it's like
their brains have been destroyed.
What was the thing during World War II when all the Japanese women like jumped off a cliff because they were told like the Americans were gonna like eat them and like rape them and stuff, and they go
exactly.
They buy it. They buy into this shit, and they go, I guess the only real way out of here is just to have a, surgical procedure to have my fucking uterus removed.
And again, like you're saying, like it being irreversible, it's like they don't even understand the gravity of what that means, getting a hysterectomy. Like that's it. Like you're not having kids like the rest of your life. Like
as far as I understand,
I think. And what a lot of these women don't realize is like you're doing this so that random men who you'll, encounter throughout the rest of your life can just use you sexually, and then, the next day kick you to the curb, and now you can't ever meet a guy, settle down, have some kids with him. You're really only confining yourself to the worst kind of bug men that there are in society for the rest of your life.
Yeah. Also, you can't just get an IUD for 4 years. You can't. That's not going to. You can't use you can't do an IUD and then make the guy wear a condom. That seems pretty safe. I don't know if I'm being naive here, but I feel like those two things combined. I mean, there's lots of chicks who make guys wear condoms. Couple that with an IUD, seems like that's a 0% chance, or as close to zero as possible. But I guess want to believe. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
I want to believe a lot of these chicks are. Yeah, I want to believe that a lot of these chicks are just filming these TikToks and then not actually going through with it. But I did see, I don't know if it was the New York Post or somebody, but they had a piece either today or yesterday, a few days ago, about it was 8 different women, and it was
well, this is the piece I talked about. It was on Newsweek. It was 5. It was in Newsweek.
Yeah,
it was
okay,
5
Newsweek,
different women.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was 5 different women that they talked to, which means there's way more who are legitimately having these serious medical procedures just because Trump. Dude, the one chick, she literally had it scheduled, and she's like, "I'll just cancel it once Kamala wins," and then Kamala didn't win. She goes, "I guess I'm not canceling it."
Womp womp.
Damn.
It's just crazy. And I'll say this, Trump's not even that conservative of a president. The guy is if we just went back to the 90s, he's a classic
he's fucking
90s Democrat,
he's like Hillary Clinton
liberal.
from 20 years ago.
To act like he's a reincarnation of Hitler, and he's going to enslave women because it's insane. Last thing I'll say is this is the holy grail for lesbians. I've seen so many lesbians on TikTok and everywhere being trying to convince girls to turn lesbian.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you have the so.
Well, I got banned from TikTok yesterday actually, but
well.
Yeah, I got banned from TikTok yesterday. No big deal. But yeah, I mean, it's the whole thing.
That's a badge of honor.
Yeah, the whole thing is crazy. If you want to go on a celibacy strike, go be celibate. But to have your fucking uterus removed, that's hardcore. That is hardcore. All right. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, last thing I was just gonna say, you kind of already said it, but it's just these women need to be thinking in longevity wise, 10 years, 20 years down the road, are you going to be sleeping around like you are in your 20s? You don't see at any point maybe that you would want to have kids. And I think you said there was one girl you quoted that said she'd rather be dead than not have control over, whether or not she, that is so tragic. And I don't know,
I mean, it's a free country though.
This might just be. Exactly. I mean, this is, like you said, the natural selection process, I guess. So
yeah.
Anyway,
all right, gotta let you go, man.
Deal,
thanks for calling in. All right, we're gonna take one more quick call, and then we're gonna go to the break and be back with our guest. If I don't get to you, I would just say hang up. Hello.
Hey, what's up? You hear me?
Yo.
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going?
Yeah, you started off the show with a little question about clarification on pardoning. So
Yo, you sound like shit. I don't know what you're. I can't hear. I can't really hear you. Jesus Christ! Guy calls in every week. Can't figure this out.
Is better?
Yeah, way better.
Yeah. So pardoning and commuting is a legal two-way street. In that, basically, it is the confirmation of one's involvement in crime, and that he could just be summoned up to, criminal and civil case court, and whatever he gets asked about, whether it's unknown or in discovery or is known, anything he gets asked, he has to answer truthfully. So they can ask him about something that's known and proven and confirmed, and if he lies, that is perjury in federal court. So that's like a 6-month sentence.
But he can be truthful, and he can literally admit to anything and be covered.
Yeah, but the problem is the problem arises when he's going to have to mention somebody's name who's not been mentioned, whose name has not been listed or overlooked or forgotten or purposefully ignored.
Like, do you have any specifics
here? It's just like a whole
here?
bunch of can of worms. No, it's just like all these cans of worms. Like anybody who's ever been involved, like adjacent with the Hunter Biden circle, well, the Joseph Biden circle.
Yeah.
And all of his foreign dealings, especially when he was vice president. I mean,
this was only the first pardon he issued, so, realistically, he's probably got a few more hundred to go before he leaves office. So, the list is going to expand.
Dude, there's been people, I forgot which account I follow, but there's like so many projects where they created this like when that thug Obama got into office. Of all these people, like, okay, can we just like commute the sentences and forgive all these people in federal prison for marijuana charges? And that was back in 2008.
Yeah,
and nothing has happened. Yeah. What is it?
What do you mean nothing has happened?
There are still thousands and thousands and thousands of people in federal detention, in federal prison, because they wrote,
but not people who had their sentences commuted. Like if you have your sentence commuted by the president, that's it. You're just saying he didn't get everybody.
No, like they pick a few and be like, oh look, my symbolic gesture.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean, it's always like you have someone famous putting your case forward, or it's all who you know. Like it's always like that.
I mean, it's also spit in the face of people who are federally sentenced for firearms infractions, which, I mean, gun laws are just stupid and dumb, but and also for taxes. I mean, Wesley Snipes, he ain't getting his time back that he has to.
Well, you don't get time back, but I mean, I guess if, getting a pardon for some people means something, because I guess, you can say, hey, I got a presidential pardon, and even Steve Bannon got a pardon, but he still went to jail because I don't know how that even worked, whether they just didn't recognize it or if there was some sort of loophole, but they still sent him to jail.
I mean, legalities and the courts and the law, it's always a two-way street. I mean, look at the Honorable Dr. Cosby, Look what happened with him.
Well, he
got off on a technicality. Yeah, it's a two-way street. Oh, yeah. You also mentioned the Salem witch trials.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a little clarification. More men were killed during the Salem witch trials than women because they were defending their wives' honor.
Really?
Because they literally stood at the front. Yeah, and they were standing in front of their wives, like in court or in the front door of their house, being like, "No, this is my wife. She ain't do all this. She just doesn't because come on, this is just catty lady talk."
Yeah, she's just into crystals
women
or whatever.
Not like. No, this is women just don't like another woman, so they just talk mess.
Yeah.
Except this is back in the late 1600s. But yeah, no, more men than women perished during the Salem witch trials because they were being men defending the honor of their wives.
Well, good for them.
But then everyone,
some good men back then. All right, I got to let you go because we got to get to the break. But I'll talk to you soon. Slav, everybody. All right, we're gonna go to the break. Enjoy while we're in the break it'll be about 5 minutes. Enjoy a classic clip from the Bathhouse. New episode tomorrow night, 9 p.m. right on this channel. And we shall be back with Aleksandar Petakov. See you shortly. Did you meet this girl?
Actually, I went to a concert and met her there, and then we exchanged numbers. And then
you did, you dirty dog. That's an IRL meetup. Those are worth twice as much, dude.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. What was the concert?
No, it was Hippocampus.
Hippocampus?
Like a small band.
Sounds
Okay.
smart.
Yeah.
It's the brain.
Yeah, it's like a part of the brain. Yeah.
But
So how's it going?
pretty good. Anyway, I want to know if I should probably break up with this person.
Yeah.
I've only been going out for 2 months. And
You've been going out for how long?
no, everything was going great. Yeah, just like 2 months. Not that long. But big red flag came up. She wants me to cross dress.
What?
Oh, cool.
She wants. She's like demanding you cross dress.
Like in the bedroom or like to
she
leave
brought
the
it up.
house?
No, just like in the bedroom. But like, isn't that's pretty?
But what's the context?
I don't know,
Is she
weird.
like she wants to pretend like you're a lady?
Yeah, does she want you in fishnets
Yeah.
with your ankles over your head, or what do you want? What position?
I have no fucking clue. At
Like
this
you have.
point.
Like when did
brought
she
it up,
bring?
like,
When
a
did she
week
bring?
ago.
She brought it up a week ago. In what? Like
Wait,
were
can
you?
I have a real
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah.
Before you say no, you should at least try it and see how good this sex is, because
Yeah.
she might like you.
Wait,
probably,
you're saying that you
No,
could,
I'm
like
saying-
like you some girl would
just
be like,
hear me
I
out.
want-
Hear
What
me
if
out.
it just unlocks
Hear me
her?
out. Yes, you might
Yeah.
have to break up with her because you don't want to do that, but you got to see where that's going.
Yeah.
Like she just said, "Hey, this is the thing I'm really into." Like, and it could go sour, but it might be the greatest thing you've ever experienced.
Also, do you
I
wanna,
do
wanna
not condone
live,
this advice
Do you want to
at all.
live life with no stories? Like, do you literally just want to spit in the eye of an opportunity to have an anecdote to tell at any
That's a good
party or
argument.
any social engagement for the rest of your life? You're like, dude, even if this doesn't work out, that's actually the best case scenario. Is now it's just
no, it's
completely
over. You
left.
have to leave her, but before
Yeah.
you do, you have to
You're
see where
saying
this
no
is
matter
going.
what she requires, like, what do you think you have to wear? Like a full dress, makeup, wig?
Maybe she just
Well,
wants to
mine-
like eat
it's
his
like-
ass
it's-
like it's a puss.
Yes.
Blackmail.
You know what I mean?
What do you mean it's blackmail?
Like, just like, she takes a couple pictures without me knowing. Next thing I know,
Oh, and then she.
What are you
bad
in the
breakup
CIA?
habits,
Are you in
and
the
then
CIA or something?
fucking
Brad, do you
No,
have money?
All over the internet.
I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so just explain the context of how she brought this up. Were you like being intimate, or was it somewhere else?
She had her finger.
Oh yeah,
in his
no,
ass.
it was like
It was at brunch. They were at Denny's, and
Oh,
she's like, "Listen,
no, it was
What did she want
no,
you
we
to
were
wear?
just hanging out. I no idea. I just kind of shut it down right away.
But what did she say? She
brought
goes,
it up
I
again
want you
a couple
to.
days ago.
She just said, I want you to cross dress like while we're having sex, or what?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, exactly.
In her clothes?
Exactly that.
Oh, or new ones.
I wouldn't know at this point.
you gotta go shopping."
She just kind of brought it up, and I was just like, "Fuck that!" Yeah, for all I know, I need to go shopping. I need to,
That's so
Did you get
emasculating.
mad and then
I don't
punch the
have
pillow right
I don't
next
have
to her
any idea
face?
on that part.
My suggestion is that this relationship is over. So before you formally end it, you might as well see what she had in mind, and you might as well go for it once because it could be the greatest. It could be the greatest experience you've ever had.
No way. It's
Yeah,
going to be why would it be the greatest
no, like I said-
experience?
Because sometimes
Might be a funny story for the
because-
boys,
all
where you're
right,
like, she dressed me up like
sometimes-
a French
yeah.
Also, just,
prostitute.
As a guy
it might
who-
be real great.
as
She
a
might
guy
really
who
get turned
sometimes
on.
has sex with older women,
Yeah.
and you're doing them a favor, they're really nice to you, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying if you got a lady who's saying this is what really gets me going,
Well, yeah, and it's
that
not like
might
you're
be
wearing
like-
a foxtail butt plug. Like
Yeah.
you're just wearing
Brad,
underwear.
how old are you? How old are you?
I'm
Brad?
23.
Oh, so you're young. So this
23.
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't matter.
That's
Yeah,
pretty.
Consequences right now.
and
Do you have
might
a job,
find
Brad?
you might find out that you love this also.
This could set off a whole new
Yeah.
life for you.
Yeah. This is like a real fork in the road on your like whole life.
That's what I'm asking. What do you do for work?
Well, that's like, what do I do for work?
Yeah, what's your job?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I technically work for the government, but not really. Government contractor,
Yeah,
I
so
guess.
definitely do it. Your
Is
whole
she
government
Asian?
does it.
Wait,
Oh,
is,
yeah.
is
Hold
this
on.
lady Asian?
I
Your
literally
Is her
went to-
name Fen Fen?
What's her nationality?
Are you the Secretary of
Like-
State?
I'm
And she-
no,
she's like,
no,
"Hey,
nothing
dirty
like
secretary."
important. Like,
All right, and we are back. I hope you all enjoyed that little clip from the bathhouse. Joining me today, Aleksandar Petakov from Small Town Monsters, the YouTube channel. I was checking on your channel. You guys make some pretty wild documentaries, like basically like full movies too. Like some of them are 2+ hours.
Yeah, we do a lot of like YouTube content. So a lot of the stuff you might have seen would have been shorter documentaries, like 45 minutes to an hour. But we also do content for other platforms, and every once in a while we'll post one of those to YouTube. So those are the ones that are usually streaming on other sites that are like 2+ hours.
Oh, okay.
So more of like a feature length doc. So we have a variety of stuff, but everything pretty much ends up on YouTube at some point.
Where do you post? Like, what are the other platforms that you post them on?
We do like Amazon, Tubi, a lot of this like the VOD kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So are you guys all just filmmakers kind of by trade?
Yeah, we're filmmakers and enthusiasts about cryptozoology and the unknown. So, I mean, I'm a filmmaker, but also consider myself kind of an amateur investigator. Like the way I approach some of the series that I do with Small Town Monsters is it's my investigation. I kind of get to dictate that, and it's like a personal investigation, especially some of the Bigfoot stuff, some of the other paranormal and weird, like strange places is a series I do where we go to just weird locations and kind of see what happens. And it gets into a lot of abandoned stuff, almost like urban exploration sort of stuff too. So we're kind of all over the place, but anything unusual, paranormal, cryptozoology, that sort of stuff.
What specifically falls under cryptozoology? Just like Bigfoot, stuff like that?
Yeah, it's like Bigfoot, mystery animals. Some people lump more paranormal things like Mothman into the mix. So Mothman would be something I'd say a little bit more on the UFO side, because the Mothman involves Men in Black sightings, UFO flap sightings of that part of West Virginia. When the whole Mothman thing, you think Mothman prophecies, that sort of stuff. But it's generally mystery animals, cryptids, or like Loch Ness Monster, Lake Champlain Monster, even stuff like the Tasmanian tiger down in that part of kind of Australia. In there, the Tasmanian tiger was this kind of marsupial-like creature that's supposedly still alive, and people still say they see it. So there's a lot that falls under the cryptid category, but obviously some of the more notable ones would be like Bigfoot, lake monsters, and that sort of stuff.
Interesting. And so what I saw you had a recent, I mean, you guys have covered a lot of things. I saw you had werewolves in Texas.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get a Bigfoot person on the show for a while. We got you. So give us the best case for the Bigfoot, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Why do we never see anything other than the most grainy, like flip phone videos?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, there are some examples of decent looking video, and I mean footage that was actually on film. Like you've got the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, which is the most famous one, of the one walking. So I'd say that's the cleanest.
Yeah, that's the one like everyone has kind of seen, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think nowadays digital is actually worse, because with film you can really analyze, and it's just better quality. I mean, digital, sure, it's got great quality, but if you've ever had like an animal run out in front of you in the woods or something, or you're driving a back road. I mean, I've had a moose run in front of me. By the time I have my cell phone ready to go, it's already into the tree line and gone.
Right.
And a lot of times you zoom in with like an iPhone, it looks so bad and grainy. But I don't know. I mean, there's obviously the debate whether or not Bigfoot exists. I mean, I'm still on the spectrum of, I'm pretty sure it does, but there's always room for possibility. I mean, there's a lot of hoaxes too. There's a lot of faking that goes on, especially now with AI. I think video and photos are pretty much useless at this point in time.
Sure.
Because I mean, I can get on one of these Discord or Grok or whatever AI and basically type in realistic looking Bigfoot trail camera photo and start posting that. Tons of people on Facebook will be falling for it, reposting it. There was a famous photo that was going viral last year, and Reuters, the news agency, actually issued an entire article saying how this is an AI photo. I mean, that's never really happened before with any sort of other AI stuff. So that was kind of like a precedent in just the AI art world. So
actually,
yeah,
I got a Snopes fact check on an AI video I made. So
yeah,
they're on to us.
Yeah, I mean, AI is everywhere, and it's, the UFO topic, other paranormal things. Bigfoot's certainly not unique. I just think that's one of the reasons why nowadays photo and video is largely useless. Maybe 30 years ago would have been a better case, but there are, if you dig deep enough, there are some good examples of interesting footage. I find some of the stuff that's on thermal cameras, so that's like a forward-looking infrared type stuff. It detects body heat. There's been some interesting footage over the last decade on thermal cameras. Namely, there's like the brown footage out of Washington. There's the green footage out of North Carolina, the Bart Catino footage out of the Sierra Nevadas, where you kind of get these weird glimpses of these pretty large creatures. And you can look some of those up. You know, they're not the greatest of video, but if we're to believe these things are as elusive as they're reportedly or they reportedly are, then it would kind of make sense the cautious sort of behavior exhibited. But yeah,
And-
yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, when you're researching them, like, are you kind of going out into the wilderness for long periods of time? And
yeah,
like,
I mean,
how do you know where to go?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, as kind of somebody that I approach this largely as a filmmaker, and I want to talk to, if I'm going to say Alaska, I want to talk to people who are out there, outdoorsmen, people who are in the woods out there who, you know, hunt, backpack, do all that stuff. They know the terrain. Maybe they've had encounters. There's actually research organizations that have been around for a long time that take reports. So in the past, you know, especially before social media, people might have a Bigfoot sighting and there would be nowhere to report it. So they'd find one of these online websites and put it into a database where an investigator could then follow up and say, hey, you know, what happened? Can you run me through your sighting? And any kind of credibility establishing that sort of stuff is like the BFRO is one of them, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization. Then I've got a buddy who actually runs something called the Bigfoot Mapping Project. It's just bigfootmap.com, and it's just an aggregation of all the different organizations and databases into one map. This guy, Scott Tompkins, he's a GIS specialist down in Texas, and he made this whole Bigfoot map website, which is awesome because you can then look in your local area, see if there's been any reports. So when I'm going out to do kind of one of my investigations, you know, they're pretty, it just depends where we're going, but it's pretty like relaxed. We go out, we're going to go out camp for a few days, explore an area, look for any kind of natural animal sign in the area. 99% of the time, nothing weird happens, but there's been a few times where I've gone to properties and areas where people claim there's activity, and we've had some weird stuff happen. Nothing I can say is 100% a Sasquatch. I've never seen it, but you're getting rocks thrown at you in the middle of nowhere in Alaska, and you're like an hour boat ride to the nearest town. There's literally no way to get in there, and there's something throwing rocks and making these weird wood knock noises kind of all around you in the woods. It's a little bit weird to imagine what it is, but
Like throwing rocks, they're coming at you like kind of fast.
Like we could hear them crashing through the trees and then going into the water. It wasn't coming at us, but that particular location I'm thinking of in Alaska, they've had a history of rocks. They've visually seen like football-shaped rocks horizontally flying out of the woods, had them thrown at their boat, had them thrown at their cabin, that sort of stuff. There's not a lot of animals out there that throw rocks actively.
Are there any animals that throw rocks?
I mean, in North America, the only thing you could maybe get is like a bird dropping a rock on you, but even that is kind of.
But the angle of it would be way different.
Yeah, and it's like at night. You know, I talked to guys that were out at this particular property I'm thinking of in Alaska, kind of codenamed it Area A. It's in a few of our documentaries, and you know they'd be sitting there around the fire, and all of a sudden it's like 11, 12 at night. So it's pretty. You know, it's getting dark in Alaska. I mean, obviously they got the daylight difference, but they'll just have a rock come into camp next to the fire, fall next to their feet. And they're like, who's in the woods around here? A bunch of Alaskan dudes with guns, you know, that are in a remote location with brown bears and moose and other animals that will kill you. Who's messing with you, throwing rocks at you from the woods and making weird noises and screams and that sort of stuff. It doesn't add up. I mean, maybe there is an explanation. I mean, I'd love to entertain that possibility, of course, but I think there's been enough credible reports, and I've had the chance to speak to quite a few people that they come from very professional backgrounds. They might be ex-military, ex-law enforcement, PhDs, former or retired biologists, like a wide variety of pretty credentialed positions. And they're the ones saying, well, I had this encounter or I saw this thing. And a lot of times those people are very quiet about it. They don't want to actually become known that they had this sighting. You know, they'll confide to you. I mean, I've talked to somebody that's like a former paratrooper that's seen combat that saw one of these things in a national park in Canada. Incredible sighting. This guy's like, I've been in multiple theaters of war, and I've never experienced anything as weird as seeing this thing. Guy's a trained observer.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people like that really make you wonder what is actually going on, because again, they don't want to be associated with it. They're not going to say, "Hey, put out this documentary and please put my name all over it."
Right.
Like
I don't want to be the guy.
Yeah, but there are people like that, so that raises the red flags. But then you meet these really low-key people that just like, hey, maybe you'll find this interesting, but please never put my name publicly with this. I'll tell you because I trust you, kind of thing. A lot of times it's like pulling teeth just to get them to trust you, because they're like weary about nowadays everyone wants to put everything online and TV and that sort of stuff. And yeah, so it's talking to those people, to me, is really the most interesting part of this whole phenomenon, because they're not people like myself that are out looking for it, right? If I was, as a guy looking for Bigfoot and I say I've seen one, I'm obviously going to be skeptical. I mean, I have friends who say they saw one, and I'm going to put them through a little bit more rigor and questioning than I would just a normal, somebody hunting who had nothing to do with it, because they're not intentionally looking for anything, and it's like you run across a bear in the woods, right? It's not something you're maybe necessarily looking to do. So
right.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of interesting eyewitness.
Like when you talk to those people who they have these stories, but they don't want to be like public about it. How similar are these people's stories?
That's the part that's really interesting. I've talked to people in different parts of North America, parts of the East Coast, and primarily on the West Coast, Pacific Northwest, places like Alaska. We have just wide swaths of wilderness into Canada. And the consistency of some of the behavioral traits that they talk about is really fascinating. So that's where you're getting certain things that this guy in Oregon said that somebody in Maine is also talking about. These guys don't know each other. One guy's a retired logger who barely even knows how to use a phone, let alone the internet. So how is he going to know about what this guy in Oregon is talking about? So to me, that kind of leads to the conclusion of, well, maybe there's a species that has a consistent behavior. Like you run into a black bear in Florida, as I have. Okay, it's a black bear. It may be adapted to living in a swamp habitat, but then you run into a black bear in Colorado. I mean, they're the same species. They just live in different areas. So they're going to have the same generally behavioral characteristics and traits. Across the continent, maybe they hibernate longer in Canada than they do in Oklahoma, the black bear. But that's to be expected in different biomes. So you see that in some of the Bigfoot reports, and even going back to like the 1930s and even pre-internet reports, you have a lot of really interesting details, like primate-like behavior. Some of the Native Americans too, and the First Nations peoples talked about different stories associated with like a hairy wild man type motif out in the wilderness. So one of the most interesting things actually has been seeing alleged ape behaviors that have been talked about in North America for decades, and that have recently been proven as behaviors that are exhibited in like primates such as chimps and gorillas. One of the things that's commonly associated with Sasquatch, about like 40, less than 50% of reports, is smell. I mean, down south, you got the skunk ape. That's kind of like a local name in the Everglades in those areas. And the people report like a very bad smell. I've heard like a wet dog type smell, rotting flesh. A lot of people have described, I've gotten this multiple times, monkey house smell. Like you go to the gorilla exhibit in the zoo, that's what it smelled like. And it's like a very specific...
But you're outdoors, it smells like that? Just like
people are saying in the woods, like they're having a Sasquatch encounter and they're describing smell. And it's not in all reports, but here's the interesting thing. So gorillas can actually control their scent glands when they're angry or agitated. So imagine if you could, your neighbor's pissing you off and you're like, all right, let me release some BO and drop like a BO bomb just walking his area.
Kind of like a skunk, basically.
Yeah. It's like that. I mean, I don't know how it works. It's with like their obviously kind of their glands, but they can control that. If they're angry or agitated or whatever, it has to do with the pheromone stuff too. So that has been reported in North America, but not in all reports. Like you'll get some reports, somebody just sees it crossing the road and they don't describe any smell. And then there's one lady I talked to in Louisiana who saw one cross the road and she described this really like musky, kind of dirty sort of smell. So maybe that's analogous to that. You have allegedly the wood knocks and the rock throwing. We know that chimps and other primates use sticks and tools, and chimps will throw rocks at trees to kind of elicit a sound, that sort of stuff. So there's a few of those sort of interesting parallels that, I mean, I think at least warrant just looking at, if not, just saying, hey, let's compare these. Is there any credence? Because again, some of it has been reported in North America prior to even being known as like an official ape behavior. So I just think that's, you might as well take a look at it.
And is it believed to be the same like family as chimpanzees, or?
I don't think so. I think most people nowadays, and this is probably not, I'm not an academic or anything, but I have talked to quite a few people that are scientists or some sort of professors that are involved in this topic. Some publicly, like Dr. Jeff Meldrum over in Idaho. Some very quietly, like they are anonymous. They don't want to be associated publicly with the topic. Because of the ridicule factor. But I think most people now in the more academic side of the Bigfoot world think it's some sort of a humanoid kind of a relict hominid. So because of the bipedalism, so I mean humans are the only ape right now that exhibits bipedalism, which is we locomote upright as opposed to chimps, gorillas, orangutans, and other lesser primates that the knuckle draggers, they run around on all fours, right? And they stand on 2 feet. They kind of look goofy and weird. It's because they don't have the foot or the spinal structure to walk upright. Whereas if a Sasquatch is real, then it would obviously be a lot closer to us. And there were plenty of other alleged primate-like creatures that were bipedal in some of our, ancestral lineage too. Neanderthals, Denisovans. There's, the list goes on. The Homo floresiensis, the little people, and nicknamed the hobbits out in Indonesia, they would have been bipedal. So yeah, it's not like there isn't a precedent for bipedal apes that are non-human. The question is, where would it fit in that line, right? That's one side, and the other side, you got people think it's paranormal, that it's connected with UFOs or it's jumping through portals. So there's a lot of competing theories now, and I think with the internet, the more sensationalized the stories are, the more they get attention. So
Sure.
a lot of like the really fringe, weird stuff is what's being propelled forward with like the algorithms on social media. So if you're just trying to earnestly look at the topic and do your own research, you'll find you'll be inundated with people on either side that are very entrenched and that will basically, there's like a battle between the two. You got the like the woo side, as it's called, and the apers on the other side. So it's like, as I'm sure being on the internet, every community has just division galore. Yeah.
And so you said that like people can report. There's like a I don't know, a phone number or an email or something. Like how many reports are there on an annual basis?
I mean, I would guess nowadays in the last 5 to 6 years, I'd say there's probably at least a few thousand reports every year. Problem is not every single one of those is going to be credible.
Right.
Like there's going to be people that, I saw this like black thing 1,000 yards away in a field. I mean, that could be anything. I think a large percentage of sightings probably are misidentifications. Maybe people saw something in the wrong light. But when you talk to somebody who's a lifelong hunter and outdoorsman who knows what all the other animals look like, and they're telling you, well, I saw this thing from my hunting stand, walk through the field unobscured, and I knew exactly, what it looked like. It didn't look like a bear walking. It's kind of hard to dispute that. So I think there's a lot of sightings that are unfortunately probably not credible. So that's where like some of these sites, like the BFRO and other sites, when a person submits an email, an investigator associated with that organization will then reach back out to them and say, hey, can we talk a little bit? Oh, it's just high school kids doing a prank. Okay, we can put that in like the bin of the non-credible reports. So
Sure.
You try to follow up. Like I've done that too. When I get people that email me stuff, I try to follow up if it's something interesting, just to establish they're not just trying to pull my leg, especially being, a filmmaker. Again,
they probably just want to be like, I made it into his film.
Yeah, there's definitely that. And I talked about it earlier. You got to be weary of people like that. Because there is some of that, especially now. I think it's way different than even like a decade ago when social media was really starting to take over. It wasn't as prevalent, but now it's like I don't trust almost 99% of things I see online.
And is this like Bigfoot, Sasquatch? What is the difference between Bigfoot and Sasquatch, by the way?
Well, I mean, it's Bigfoot's the American name, right? The stupid.
Well, that was going to be my other question. Is this a specifically North American phenomenon?
In my opinion, yes and no, and I'll get to that in a second. I'll just give you the quick rundown of Bigfoot Sasquatch. So Sasquatch is actually a Canadian term for it. Comes from a First Nations group out on the West Coast in British Columbia. It was like Saskets or something like that, and this guy anglicized it to sound like Sasquatch for whatever reason. And that's basically a term. It meant like these wild people, these wild hairy people that lived in the mountains, according to some of these tribes. And then Bigfoot was just the name that was coined in the 1950s in Northern California when these logging crews were punching through some of the wilderness out there and they were finding these weird footprints. And a journalist literally said, oh, it's Bigfoot. And then that went on the AP Newswire and that kind of went viral at the time. That's the name that stuck. I mean, there's even a headline that said when these tracks were in one of the newspapers, new Sasquatch found, it's called Bigfoot. So it's like the terms are interchangeable nowadays. Okay. I think Sasquatch sounds cooler. Bigfoot just sounds kind of like goofy. But yeah, it's a joke around. That's the American term for this creature. But yeah, gotcha. In terms of it, mostly North America, primarily obviously the United States and Canada, two countries that have, other than maybe Russia and parts of China, some of the most wilderness on Earth. And then in Russia and China, there are also histories of the Almas and the Almastis in Russia, and then in China you got the Yeren. So there's different stories, and they all kind of go into these wilderness areas. So
I feel like if they had them in China, they'd be eating them.
I mean, probably, yeah. It's interesting because in China, there's reports and history that goes back to like the 13th century and all these dynasties and people talking about running into these wild, hairy people in the woods. And those parts of the world, you got to realize in Russia and China and Central Asia, that's where a lot of these near human hominid creatures lived. So the Denisovans, Neanderthals, all these other things. Maybe groups of these creatures survived into the modern era, and that's where some of this storytelling comes from. But North America seems to be the place that has the best habitat. I mean, Canada is just a scary, large country. I drove actually from
I'm from there.
The US.
I'm from Canada. So I'm aware.
But it's so, I mean, you know how like everyone in Canada basically lives within an hour of the U.S. border.
Yeah, like.
And I drove from the East Coast of the U.S. to Alaska last year, so I had to go through all of northern BC.
Oh wow!
Which is just
northern BC is. I've never been too far up there, but it's like
it's.
I mean, even Ontario is like totally.
Yeah,
desolate.
It's got a scary amount. I mean, even so, I'm here on the East Coast of the U.S. Even in Quebec, I mean, there's this one area. It's called Goose Bay, Labrador. It's like a 16-hour drive here from like the Boston area. And it's the middle of nowhere, and there's a story from the 1920s of this logging and trapping community out there that encountered this creature they called the Travers Pine Gorilla. It's like an old Bigfoot kind of story. So, but I've looked at trying to drive up there, and you're just going through this complete desolate wilderness.
Oh yeah, you're probably like it's all dirt roads at some point. Yeah. They're like not even.
Canada's just empty. Like
Canada is literally
Toronto. You know.
I know. There's like 3 cities that have people in it.
Yeah.
So. I assume this would be mostly, I don't know if the Canadian government, but the United States government, as far as you know, is covering up the existence of Sasquatch. Like there was, Mark told me there's Mount Saint Helens eruption, and FEMA workers were like carting out all these bodies of dead Sasquatch. Allegedly,
some of those stories, are like when that happened. I've actually experienced this quite a bit where people are like, yeah, I know a guy who was working on a crew in Mount St. Helens and they took out a Bigfoot body. And they're like, oh, no, it was my friend who knew the guy. And it always ends up being like a telephone game. I was even, I don't know if you remember, oh gosh, what was the name of that app? It was it was popular a couple of years ago, Clubhouse. You remember Clubhouse?
Oh, I thought you were going to say Tinder. I saw some Sasquatchers on there.
No, Clubhouse was this weird app where you could have these like live shows. It was like the Twitter rooms.
Yeah. It was like Twitter Spaces, basically.
Yeah, it was X Spaces, same thing. And it was like a big app. And I remember one time we were in this Bigfoot group and there's people sharing stories. And this one guy's like, yeah, I knew my cousin who he was on a crew that was at the Mount St. Helens eruption. They saw a Bigfoot body. And then when we followed up with him, the whole story fell apart. He's like, actually, I just read it online somewhere or something like that. So those stories, I think in my opinion, I don't know, I'm just speculating, obviously. I'd say, there's certain probably people within the government that know, but I don't think it's really in their interest. They certainly have bigger fish to fry, so they kind of just ignore it. You look at the way the media generally treats the topic, it's pretty silly, like news coverage.
It used to be when I was a kid, there would just be all like the National Enquirer, at
the checkout
at the grocery store, there'd be like the cover.
Yeah, it was hokey and weird. And same thing with the UFO topic, but we've seen that obviously shift quite a bit over the last few years, especially with, all the stuff going on with the government. And, even last week, there was all those testimonials at Congress as the congressional hearings on the UFO stuff. So I think the government has a lot bigger fish to fry than talking about Bigfoot. I think there's a lot of people that are just really into the conspiracy stuff, and they just want to think, every time there's a Bigfoot sighting, like, black helicopters descend on that location and men in black interrogate you. I don't think so. I mean, I've heard from people that have actually worked in government say, yeah, on my free time working for the Forest Service, I was out looking for Bigfoot reports, and a supervisor caught wind of it, and they were like, oh, this is stupid. Please don't like go public with this kind of stuff. It's usually middle management guys just trying to get a promotion. They don't want to have to explain to their higher ups why you've got people working for you looking for Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Right.
I mean, maybe there is a cover up. I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't run it. I have not been in an area where I've been accosted by men in black or any other sketchy government people saying don't look into the Bigfoot stuff. I think, again, they have a lot. You look at what's going on in the world right now. I mean, what's going on currently, they have a lot more important and probably more pressing things, and talking about Bigfoot and why
it seems probably low on the list. But speaking of the UFO thing, though, there are people who have said that Bigfoot came out of UFOs, though.
Yeah, there's people that claim that. I mean,
turning into orbs and.
That's like what I was saying when there's kind of that division between the research
This is
world.
the woo versus.
I guess people call it the woo. People call the other side the apers. I don't know. It's just kind of like the colloquialism. As somebody that tries to be as independent as I can, like I stick to when I do my investigations, and I stick to what I know, experiences I've had, people I've talked to. I've seen like what I would describe as a UFO in Pennsylvania in 2019. It was this craziest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, I mean, there obviously are strange things out there, but are they necessarily correlated? Like if you see a deer in the woods and you see a glowing orb, is the first conclusion you're going to make is, oh, that they had to be connected?
Right.
Maybe not necessarily, but obviously, it can really just
I mean, I guess if I saw a Bigfoot and a glowing orb.
Yeah, you'd probably be more
probably
likely
both
to,
of those
to
at the same
connect
time.
Yeah,
something's
you'd probably be like, yeah,
there.
there maybe it's more in coincidence. I found in my experience, like a minority reports include some of the weirder elements. Not to say they don't. I mean, I've talked to people I would consider credible that also have had orb kind of experiences. So I think there's a lot of weird stuff going on out there. I have no way I don't know how to quantify it or, prove it. Like, I think there's a lot of people trying to do that. I just try to stick to what I've experienced and what I know. And, the UFO stuff, and that I think it's its own separate category that is, it's really hard to explain some of that stuff conventionally.
Is there a state? And I'm going to open the phone lines. And actually, you know what? I'm going to open the phone lines right now because I imagine some people have some questions for you. Phone lines are open, 1-888-949-2969 if you have any questions for Aleksandar. Are there any states specifically where you have like the most sightings? Like, are there some states where there's none? Like, is it like Alaska's the highest or?
No, I'd say, well, Alaska, the problem is you need people for there to be Bigfoot sightings. So, sparsely populated areas like northern Canada, which would be perfect habitat. Alaska, Alaska has barely a higher population than Vermont. We're talking like 700,000.
They pay people to live in Alaska.
Yeah, they get the dividend from the oil revenue. There's more elk in Alaska, or excuse me, not elk, caribou in Alaska than there are people. It's crazy. So everyone lives in certain areas, but the areas that generally have some of the most sightings are the Pacific Northwest, traditionally too. So you have like
wooded areas, kind of.
Yeah, the temperate rainforests that stretch from basically Northern California and the redwoods all the way to Alaska. So in between there, you have Northern California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, and then Alaska. And those are areas that produce some of the best and most credible sightings, in my opinion. Just a lot of really interesting stuff. Here in the East Coast, the Appalachians. So, obviously from Maine to Georgia, there's some pretty good habitat. That's in my research, that's where some of the best sightings on the East Coast have come out of. And then you have just, certain other areas too, the Rocky Mountains and obviously throughout the Intermountain West and those kind of places. But it really, I think the Pacific Northwest is probably your best bet in terms of areas that have like a long cultural history with it, with the natives, with the local lore, and just some of the most credible kind of stuff that's come out of those areas. And you go there, go to like Washington State and go to Mount Rainier, and it just makes sense.
Right. And no carcasses or anything, like no.
There's plenty of stories, right? There's been stories. Oh, this guy shot one, and then of course, he buried.
But
the body.
These things would is the idea that these things have crazy long lives, or like why don't you find?
Idea.
Why would
I
you
think
find
like an interesting thing that I always talk about when people say, where are the bones, that sort of stuff. There's this extinct ape called the Gigantopithecus that was supposedly the largest ape in known history, lived in parts of Southeast Asia, and was like a giant looking orangutan thing. And the only fossil evidence we have that even exists are part of a jaw and some teeth bones that were preserved in caves because porcupines would consume the bones and drag them into the caves. So that allowed the fossilization process, because those environments in Southeast Asia were very acidic and humid, which are not conducive to fossilization. Like, there's barely any evidence that chimps and gorillas exist in the fossil record because they live in these subtropical kind of environments. So you take the Pacific Northwest with its acidity and the constant rainfall, temperate rainforest. An animal dies in the woods and it'll dissolve and kind of disappear pretty quickly. It's not really conducive for fossilization. So, there's obviously a lot of claims. People said, "Oh, I shot one," or "I hit one," or whatever, and the stories always fall apart. So there's a lot of shenanigans on that end, for sure. Yeah.
And how do you choose, like, when you're making like a new version of a documentary or whatever? Like, how do you choose kind of what topic you're gonna follow, I guess?
Yeah. So, for example, right now I'm currently working on one. It's kind of an ongoing series called the Appalachian Bigfoot Files. So the idea is, I'm just going to look at a specific area of Appalachia, whether it's the northern part, southern part, and just do like a deep dive, interview some locals, some people who've had some experiences. So I did one on upstate New York. You got the town of Whitehall. It's famous in the 1970s because there was a incident where multiple police agencies all saw this Sasquatch-like creature on the same night, and a bunch of people saw it. So that area's kind of become known for that. So I did like a deep dive on the history of that area, talked to some guys who investigate that, who know the history, and then just kind of present it in a package saying, here's your history about it, even some of the hoaxes and the fake stuff, and you can ultimately make up your own mind. That's a little bit different than maybe my series Beyond the Trail, which is kind of like my personal investigations. That's more of like an adventure, kind of follow me along when I go to British Columbia sort of adventure series where you see a lot of wildlife, see a lot of cool stuff on the way. So it's just, there's so many cool places to check out. Obviously, time is limited, but I try to do my best.
And a lot of space to cover.
Yeah.
You go like super remote where you're like taking a helicopter in and stuff like that?
Yeah, we've done that, especially up in Alaska. I've done quite a bit of stuff up in Alaska. Like the thing I was mentioning earlier about the rocks being thrown, that was actually a property that a friend of mine owns. It's over an hour boat ride from the nearest town, complete middle of nowhere, Kenai Peninsula, not that far from where Les Stroud actually had his weird encounter while filming Survivor Man. But that's an area where
Canadian legend, Les Stroud.
Yes, Les Stroud, awesome guy.
Survivor
I interviewed
Man.
him about that incident that happened to him, and it was in a documentary about Alaska's Kenai Peninsula. So it's if you get invited to a place where somebody you know says, "Hey, I got this property. We might have some weird stuff going on." That's like automatically like, yeah, of course I want to go. Who doesn't want to go to Alaska, right? So I'm really lucky to go up there a bunch, and in Canada, I went to a remote village called Bella Coola. It's a valley actually. It's about halfway up from Vancouver to the Alaskan coastline. It's a 12-hour ride from Vancouver. That's how big BC is, and you're only halfway up. And that was the lands where the Newhawk First Nation was, and they have stories tens of thousands of years going back about these hairy man-like creatures. So that was like a really cool one I wanted to cover, and you just get to see so many incredible places. And as an adventurer at heart, I mean, it's obviously not hard to convince me to do that kind of stuff and go to some of these beautiful locations.
Yeah. Last question, then we'll take a call. Do people set up like 24/7 cameras, kind of like, thermal motion cameras like they have for like wildlife?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, people do trail cameras, game cameras. A lot of people, there's not a lot of good trail camera photos. There's a few that are kind of weird, but most of them I think are not effective. Animals can actually see and hear a lot of times, some of the trail cameras. Like I've got dozens of videos of bear and moose and white-tailed deer staring right at my camera. They can either smell the plastic or they can hear it. So trail cameras don't seem to be very effective, but thermal cameras are interesting. I'm actually aware of a couple projects where people are putting thermal trail cameras. So this is like the next step up from a plain old trail camera, except it films in thermal. So the idea is it doesn't emit any infrared. It shouldn't have too much sound or anything associated with it. And there's at least a few people I know that are putting these in remote areas of North America and just leaving them there for half a year to see what happens, see if they get anything. And they're getting all sorts of other wildlife. And the goal would be, of course, to get something more than just like a cougar or a bear. But
and is the explanation for them that you're like, these are supernatural things and that's why?
That's what some people claim. I mean, it could just be that they're very rare, so that they're going to some of these areas. I don't know. There's obviously there's a lot of convenient excuses, and that's one thing that it's unfortunate. But I think the best way to approach the topic is skeptical but open-minded. I mean, especially, and I tell this to new people all the time that are just getting into it now. You don't believe most of what you see online. Unfortunately, there's just too many people that are like with any topic now. It's for the clicks, and it's not really for the actual furtherment of the topic or the investigation. Do your own research. Just go do your own thing. Don't rely on others to kind of spoon feed you info.
What do you think the odds are that in your lifetime you'll actually find one?
It's a good question. I mean, at this point, my goal is to have definitive experience to be able to say, okay, I definitely saw one. I know that was it. Maybe even capture some good footage of it. I know that's not going to prove it because I have friends who have pretty convincing thermal footage and that sort of stuff. As I mentioned, some of the other footage, and it's been out there for like a decade, and people still don't. They're like, "Oh, it was just fake." I mean,
but
that's the go-to.
Do you believe their footage? Like, are you like that's real?
Yeah, some of them do. Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, the Bart Catino footage in the Sierra Nevada mountains, and because the footage itself is not that great, but once they did the investigation to recreate it and to try to figure out what was happening, and you realize that the figures were a lot taller than even the biggest dude they had there. It was a stand-in. They did like a 13-part series showing how they investigated that event, and it's like, okay, you watch that in totality, and you're like, something weird happened. I mean, it's not definitive, but it's enough to leave you
Something.
kind of wondering. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Let's take a question here. 1 sec, please, while we
Sure.
get them unmuted. I don't screen my calls, so just have an open mind. Hello, conspiracy extremist. What's up, man?
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good. How are you? All right. There's a
Good.
child crying in the background.
Sorry, yeah, these get me removed. All right, anyways, sorry about that, dude.
No
Bad timing.
It's okay. You can't control that.
So, I have some questions because I'm very passionate about the subject.
Okay.
I would like to hear, and I'm sorry. What was Hunter? What is how
Alexander?
do I address the
Alexander.
Alexander. Sorry. Thank you. I just followed your channel, so I really the whole Bigfoot thing. I have a strong opinion on it. I'd like to ask you, what is your opinion on the Patterson-Gimlin film?
Oh, hold on. We lost.
Hello?
Hold on 1 second here. He got muted there.
Okay, yeah, because I was trying to unmute myself when I drank water, and it said
Yeah, no problem.
it's not allowed. Yeah, thanks for calling in, man. Patterson-Gimlin Film, in my opinion, it's this really interesting piece of footage, right? It's been around since 1967. It has been probably, aside from the JFK Zapruder assassination film, there's like no piece of film that's actually been analyzed to the extent of the Patterson-Gimlin film. You've had dozens of people look at it. People like Bill Munns, who's a kind of a Hollywood FX guy who's looked at it. Other analysts, tons of different labs, that sort of stuff. So I think, unfortunately, it's inconclusive because it's been around for almost 60 years and it hasn't proved anything. Now, my personal opinion, I do lean towards it being probably real. I've seen some of the enhancements as of recent. I mean, there was even a recent one a couple of years ago for a History Channel program called The Proof is Out There, I believe, where Bill Munns, as I mentioned, Dr. Jeff Meldrum, and this guy that I know, Isaac Tian, who's like a software engineer guy, they took all the existing copies of the Patterson film that are out there and kind of put them together so they could clean it up and remove some of the artifacts. And the breakdown was incredible. You could see like muscle movement and some of the slowdowns.
I'm watching it right now.
It's
looks,
very, you should be able to find the clip.
It
right
looks
on
great.
YouTube.
How old is this?
From 1967.
Wow.
So, and the problem with the Patterson-Gimlin film is that there are a lot of red flags with the story behind it, with the guy who was involved, Roger Patterson. Bob Gimlin alleviates some of the red flags, but
what are these red flags? What is he, a pedophile or something?
Gimlin admits it was a hoax. I mean, he
no, Gimlin has never admitted it.
Yes, he did.
I'm not aware of that. I mean, I have not heard of that. But Patterson died in like 1970, so a few years after the film, and he, on his deathbed, never admitted it was a hoax. Gimlin, to my knowledge, has even been offered almost $1 million to say it was fake and didn't. So I don't know. I think it's one of those things. I think it's an interesting piece of film. I've been to the film location twice. It's in the middle of nowhere, Northern California, one of the most beautiful places, Bluff Creek. I have no idea. I think it's inconclusive. It doesn't prove anything because we're still talking about 60-year-old footage. Like if we had something
as the best footage.
Substantiate. Yeah, exactly. So I don't think it's unfortunately gonna there's nothing that's gonna continue to happen where it's gonna go one way or the other. Even if it gets disproven or proven, there's still gonna be people on either side that are really passionate. So I think you just need to have other verification.
But like, what could you do with a hoax film like this in 1967? Like, would you send it into the news?
Well, he was some of the red flags is that Patterson was there looking for Bigfoot, and he had been there previously and that sort of stuff. So he was kind of filming some stuff looking for Bigfoot, and he happened to find it. Right, that's one of the red flags. And then him and Gimlin had like a falling out because they were distributing the film, and I think Gimlin he didn't get enough pay for it or something. I don't remember the exact. There's a whole.
He never got paid for it.
Yeah, so they had like a big dispute. They didn't like each other, and Gimlin actually stayed out of the public eye up until like the early 2000s, I think, is when he started doing TV interviews and has done some Bigfoot conferences and gone to some speaking events, and he's been on a few documentaries. I actually know a buddy of mine who interviewed him at the film site about that incident. So yeah, the whole story is if you want to hear probably the best amalgamation of the whole Patterson-Gimlin story there's a podcast called Astonishing Legends. And they did this really great like 3-part, I want to say it's 2 or 3-part podcast about all of the Patterson-Gimlin stuff. They go into the red flags, they go into everything. It's like the most exhaustive examination of that in terms of just the full story behind and after the film. So it's Astonishing Legends. They do a fantastic job on that. But yeah, again, in my opinion, I lean towards it being real, but that doesn't mean it is. It's 1967 technology, and they create this hoax that we're still talking about 60 years later. That's almost a better story than it being real, is how they fooled the world for so long, right?
Well, it probably was easier back then.
Well,
I mean,
I don't know, because at the time, some of the costume people, even in Hollywood, like the Planet of the Apes stuff, was cutting edge at the time. Looks really bad compared to the Patterson film, and even some of those people that worked in Hollywood say, yeah, we couldn't make a suit like that at the time. And maybe nowadays you could. Obviously, I think there's plenty of technology now to do it, but nobody still has tried to recreate it to like a T. So that's another interesting factor. Again, I think it's going to be one of those things that's a moot point in 2024. We need something better. We need more. And video, and we talked about this with the AI stuff. I don't think video and photo is going to do anything in current day and age. You're going to need repeatability, DNA, that sort of stuff. Ultimately, a body. That's what everyone will tell you. In academia, a body, that sort of stuff. And then the repeatability factor. Oh, if you filmed it once, can you film it 30 times again in its natural habitat, blah, blah, blah.
Right. And the thing is like, this is kind of different from the UFO, because, people say if they found UFOs, that would have, like, some larger consequences for, I guess, the
right.
world.
We talked
like,
about
this
earlier,
really
like
wouldn't.
Conspiracy angle, yeah.
You're like, if